All right, folks, I want to give you a quick rundown on some books. We're going to try to do some short videos like this because I get a lot of questions about what books I'm reading, and I'm going to cover 3 of those books right now. And if you haven't read these books, you can go and click on the description below, and that'll give you a link directly to these products. If you click on them and buy them from Amazon, we are making money off that. We're going to make a few cents off every book you buy, but that's not why we're doing this. We're doing this because I get so many questions about books. So I'll start with one of my favorite books that I've read in the last few years. So this is Churchills Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. This one's written by Giles Milton. Pretty sure he's a British citizen. This is a great book, and this one puts out a lot of information about that organization that was started that eventually did things like you're going to see in the movie that just came out, the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, which is based on this book. Now, this is a Damian Lewis book. Check out the movie. The movie's pretty good. Some of you have said that you don't want to go to the movie because of some political issues with some of the actors, but what I try to remember is they're actors. So they're knuckleheads. They're just doing what they do, and if they don't like cops, they don't like military, well, what can I do about that? I thought it was a good movie. They made the dude that all you guys are offended by now, they made him into a somewhat homosexual acting individual. So maybe that was the payback for that. So he's a big old meathead, probably too many steroids. Go see the movie, it's pretty good. This book is based on the actions of Anders Lassen, who was a Danish Viking dude that he had to leave Denmark because the Nazis had invaded. He ends up in Great Britain. And then it follows his escapades from when they went and stole some ships, which is what the movie is based on, their operation there. But this follows him throughout his life, which isn't very long, but he's a very colorful character. If you go to the SAS compound, you'll see a couple of different statues. There's one of Anders Lassen, and there's one of their guy that started that, Sterling. So Sterling Lines, that's what's named after him. So you can go, if you ever get there, check that out, which more than likely most of you never be able to get behind that wall to see that. But if I was going to read one of these books, I would definitely pick the Churchill's Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. That one tells more of a complete story about this group of people that operated behind enemy lines. The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare by Damian Lewis, it's more focused just on Anders Lassen. Okay, all of that being said, that led me to another book. And actually, I saw this book on Jack Carr's website or Instagram or something, and I thought, oh, The Winter Fortress, what's that about? Well, it ends up being about some of the soldiers from Norway that jumped into Norway, and they were supported by Britain during the war, and they wanted to go and destroy a heavy water plant. This book will make your feet hurt. When you think about how many miles these guys put on skiing in and out of there. First of all, he jumped into a snowstorm. Conditions that most individuals could never, ever survive. And they went in there and they didn't just survive, they actually thrived. But this book is very good to read. I'm glad Jack put this out because I probably would have come across this eventually, but Neil Bascom, great, well-written book. And I get questions about, well, do you listen to books or do you read the book? I don't think you can go wrong either way. If I listen to a book, I actually may go back and listen to that book a couple times, because if I want to listen to something and absorb it, that's why I like to actually read the book. Because if you look in some of these books, I've got my marks in red that my notes that I've taken, because I do go back and look at those notes when I'm trying to regurgitate a story. I want to actually know what I'm talking about. So that's why I like a hard copy of the book. If you don't do that, maybe just listening to the book is good. I would say listen to these books when you're really focused on that book, because there's stuff you're going to miss. And some of the names, I had to go back and reread who some of these cats were. The thing that's a little disturbing about all 3 of these books is that the warriors that went in harm's way, and it wasn't just all men, there were women that were doing this, there were just citizens that were coming forward and putting themselves in harm's way. And they suffered dearly, and many of them gave their lives. When you read this book by Damian Lewis, one of the things they don't highlight in the movie, I'm pretty sure every guy that was on that boat eventually ended up dead during the war. So not to be a spoiler alert there, but Anders Lassen, the hero from this book, he was spectacular, but I believe he died with about a month left in the war. So as with most special operators, they've put it on the line. They went out there and did some great deeds. The interesting thing is the information used for these Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare books was just declassified a few years ago. So that is how these books have now come about. The book about the heavy water plant, this is probably one of the greatest special ops stories of our time. And everybody working together, their Air Force, the military working, the folks in the intel community behind that, the partisans on the ground, the spies that were inside of that heavy water plant. It's pretty amazing. All right, so go to the links below, click on these books. Once again, I would read this one first. This one is the Churchills Ministry, Ungentlemanly Warfare by Giles Milton. The second one I would read would be Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare by Damian Lewis. Go see the movie, by the way. And then the last one is The Winter Fortress by Neil Bascom. Links are below. Go get them and start learning some history. We're going to repeat history, so, learn how rough and tough these jokers were so that when it's your turn to step up and fight for your country, you'll be ready to do it. I hope you are. I'm not sure if I'm man enough to do what these jokers did, though. Man, I can ski, but I can't ski like some Viking from Norway or Sweden. All right, guys, that's all I got. I hope you enjoy this. If you would, give us some feedback. If you enjoy this, I'll do more of these because I've read a ton of books and I really like to talk about them. And when I go out to teach classes, I often end up going down giving a few history lessons to folks, and guys are like, well, where did you learn that information? Well, I learned it from reading and talking to people and listening to other people's podcasts about history. I've also told myself that I want to be positive, and the way that I'm positive is read history, talk about history, and we can be positive about that. We don't have to complain about what's going on in our country right now because you all know all about that, but we can study what happened in other countries, so maybe we won't repeat that. All right, we'll see you either in the library or at the range.